When it comes to building the resilience of your organisation through your risk management systems, the first and most important step is to recognise that different types of risk need different mitigation strategies. Today we're going to have a quick look at the 3 different types of risk with some examples of each and help you to identify some risk mitigation strategies to deal with each of them. If you can manage each of these risks the right way, it'll make your business more resilient. Hi, my name's Andrew Ellis and I'm a business consultant with CBB. The 3 different types of risk are preventable or internal risk, external risk and strategic risk. So starting with preventable or internal risks. These are the usual focus of a risk management program or process for most organisations. It includes safety, environment, cyber, human resources and service delivery risks. The likelihood of these risks occurring ought to be controlled and eliminated or at least avoided, or where that can't be done, the impact of the risk should be minimised. In some cases, your measures may include reducing both the likelihood of the risk occurring and the impact if it does. Your risk treatments for these sorts of risks include your risk policy, your risk procedure, your risk register, risk mitigation plans, your ownership of risk and different policies and procedures. So for example, the risk of slips, trips and falls in your workplace might be addressed through a work health safety policy requiring regular inspections by a qualified person to look for hazards and address them. Inspections will reduce the likelihood of an incident occurring and over time should create a workplace with less significant hazards, which can reduce the impact if a risk does occur. External risks are outside your influence or control. So for example, the most obvious external risk this year is the COVID pandemic. But this can also include economic slowdown, competition and market disruption. External risks cannot be prevented and are often a low likelihood, high consequence event. Therefore, you need to focus on early identification and mitigation of the impact. Your risk treatments for this include your risk monitoring, your business continuity plan, and scenario planning to test that business continuity plan. So for many organisations, the pandemic would have been identified in discussions at board meetings and trigger the use of your business continuity plan, whether or not that included the risk of pandemic or not. Response plans through the pandemic might have included activities like increased working from home, increasing supply and deploying PPE, and increased cleaning. None of those actions changed the risk of the pandemic occurring, but they did reduce the risk of organisations being seriously impacted. Strategic risks are undertaken in order to generate value or to deliver your objectives. They are the risks associated with your business model. These risks are not inherently undesirable and they may be an essential aspect of providing your service. Many of the strategic risks can't be managed by standard rules-based risk management. They need regular constructive discussion about managing the risks related to strategic choices as part of strategy formulation and implementation processes. Hence, the risk treatments for strategic risks include your risk culture, risk appetite, delegations, risk structure, and your strategic planning process. So thinking of an example of sending a staff member into a client's home without knowing much about that environment or who else might be there. That might be addressed with a template risk assessment form that seeks to identify risks ahead of time, say over the phone, and empower the staff member to leave if they don't feel comfortable. These steps can reduce the likelihood of an incident and in many cases the impact too. Alternatively, as organisations grow, they might consider whether to buy or lease new facilities to enable their growth. This can be a significant decision that requires analysis and dialogue. It's also an example of a risk that impacts different parts of the organisation. Finance need to be involved given the expenditure, HR need to support staff managing change, and service delivery staff might need to influence design of the new facility. Strategic risks require more discussion because of their complexity and their interrelatedness. So there you have it. The 3 different types of risks to manage are preventable or internal, external and strategic. If you'd like to read more about this topic, then please head to the CBB website where you'll be able to find an article that I wrote on this topic. We hope you've enjoyed this short video on the 3 different types of risk. To continue your learnings about risk, I'd encourage you to watch another video in this series, perhaps the one titled Robust Risk Framework.